What is the rate of growth of junior giant Arborvitae? That was a question that was posed recently here on this channel. And I thought the best thing to do is to bring you out here into the trial and testing garden here at Arborvitae Nursery and show you the plants and tell you a little bit about how they grow. And if you haven't come across it before, here it is, planted out as a screen here in our test and trialing area. It's a relatively new selection of the Western Arborvitae. In fact, this is a selection of the very popular green giant that's widely planted right throughout our region. But the difference is, as you see, is that this plant has a much more shapely habit, a really elegant shape that's more compact and bushy with beautiful green foliage during the summertime and the strong central leader that makes it ideal for the average home landscape situation. And because it tops out at about 15 to 20 foot high rather than the big giant green giants that grow so fast, which people like, but unfortunately later on in many sites gets really too big, this, as you see, is a much more refined and elegant plant for those situations. And to answer your question, 2 springs ago we planted plants like this that are in a 3-gallon pot, 18 inches to 2 foot high or thereabouts, and now after 2 complete growing seasons and entering their 3rd growing season, as you see from these plants, and this is a 4-foot ruler, they're now about 4.5, perhaps beginning to touch towards about 5 foot high. So they're not by any stretch of the imagination slow pokes. And it's important to mention that if you're planting these out, that at first, because they're only starting to get established, they're going to take a little while to get going. It's important to keep them very well watered. Even in winter time, in a dry winter, water them well until they get established. So be sure to give them a good deep watering, and depending on the weather conditions, keep doing it too, because you see, that's important to get the roots out into the surrounding ground. That will help to get them established. And with coniferous species like these Arborvitaes, this is particularly important because broadleaf plants will wilt and show you when they're in need of water. But these, with their needle-like or scale-like leaves like this, really won't show you. So it's important that you keep doing it regularly and also give them a good deep watering too. Once they get the roots out into the ground, then as you see, they put on nice, strong, stocky and well furnished growth, and it will then turn out to be, as you see, a beautiful screen or single specimen if that's what you want. And if you'd like to find out more information about it, check out some of the other videos that we have here on this channel. In particular, you'll find one there that goes into a lot more detail about this impressive plant. And another thing that I've discovered as well is that it makes a very good plant for growing in a container. You see, about 4 years ago I took one of these and put it into a large pot that's been stood outside of our garage for now all of that time. And I hasten to add that it's received remarkably little attention and still done very well. We put Christmas lights on it during the holiday times, and we've noticed that little birds are making their nests in there. And my garden is in zone 6, and it's true that it's sheltered and protected by the garage wall, and perhaps that stops the roots in the pot from freezing solid, and therefore it's been doing fine. And despite the fact that it hasn't really been getting the attention that it should get, we just water it when it needs it. Outside of that little else, it's really impressive how well it's done in that container. So that might be something that you might want to think about trying out in your garden too. So there you are. Based on our experience here, we're happy to tell you that it will grow about 18 inches to 2 foot or so a year. And I'm also very happy to tell you that these plants here have never really been trimmed. They require no maintenance at all, hardly. Contrast that with the strong growing, fast and really quite kind of loose growing habit of Green Giant. You're punching the air and clapping your hands because that's growing so fast, but then of course it will quickly sometimes outgrow the situation. And here along the perimeter fence of the nursery, you will see that we have planted out Green Giants here. Very typical, as you see. Here's the big long lanky leader and the rather open growth. And if you want to try and keep this shapely, you really don't have much more alternative except for getting out the hedging shears like I'm doing now and trimming it in to keep it shapely and at least some way to keeping it quite bushy. There's the difference right there between Green Giant and Junior Giant. And then think about things like emerald green with its multiple leader tendencies, and I hope you can see this is why we like Junior Giant so much. A very shapely, elegant and refined specimen if you grow it as a single plant, or as we have it here, used as a screen, planted at about 5 foot centers. It's an easy to grow, hardy to zone 5 plant with beautiful evergreen aromatic foliage, which incidentally, if you brush against it or crush it, releases a very nice fragrance, which of course is great if you want to bring in some evergreens at the holiday times, or perhaps even use it as a background filler in, say, a floral arrangement. Just about the only thing that needs to be done is to keep an eye for this sort of thing, where they occasionally, just very occasionally, will produce a contesting leader. As you see, 2 leaders coming up through the middle of the plant. If that happens, then it's really just a matter of going in with a pair of pruners and cutting it out fairly low down so that you're able then to remove any of that competition so that the new leader can continue to grow up and keep that nice shapely habit. No ugly seed, and best of all, because it's a Western Arborvitae, it's not preferred by deer. And just to explain, we use the term not preferred by deer rather than deer resistant, because while most of the time they'll leave these alone, leave them unscathed, in neighborhoods where there's an exploding uncontrolled population and the pressure from herds of hungry deer can be so intense that they'll have a go at almost anything that they perceive to have nutritional value. But I'm happy to say that under most circumstances, most of the time, they'll leave these types of Arborvitaes alone. In many ways, this is a variety that combines the best elements of the best current Arborvitae selections out there, puts it all together in one variety that, as you see, fits in much better with the average home residential situation. It's a no-fuss, easy to grow and reliable selection that really all you have to do is plant it, water it, and then leave the rest up to Thuja worry-free Junior Giant. This is David Wilson. Enjoy your gardening. It's good for us and it's good for our environment too.